Welcome to Wrasslin Raw! Alright, you're listening to Wrasslin Raw, the podcast that takes you back to when Raw became war and Attitude ruled. Thank you for joining us. You're here with Ryan Arico.
What the hell type of town is this?
Joe Giammatteo.
Firing Austin felt better than sex.
I'm the one and only Jason Bartlett. We're going to examine WWE history, one episode of Raw is War at a time. In this episode of Wrasslin Raw, we're going to be talking about the Raw that aired on October 19th, 1998. This Raw was recorded at the Bradley Center in Milwaukee, Wisconsin, and features Jim Ross and Jerry the King Lawler on commentary. Are you guys ready?
I'm ready.
Ready?
All right, then, let's get into it. Before we fully get into it, though, I just want everybody here to know that Taka Michinoku was in the dark match leading into this Raw, defeating a jobber named Terry Allen. Who's the real jobber there? It's like an existential question that'll take us into the start of the episode here. We kicked off with a full recap of Vince screaming the main points of the current storyline, including a surprising amount of live footage from the pay-per-view last night. They didn't go with still shots for this. They had actual live footage. This all ended with Vince firing Austin and Austin saying that we hadn't seen the last of him.
Screw you! You're fired!
Yes, just like that. We then opened up to a full-blown celebration, balloons and glitter coming down from the rafters, calliope music playing over the PA, and just about the entire roster coming down to the ring, apparently having been summoned by Vince McMahon. Some notable mentions in the crowd there. The Godfather was present in full pimp gear. I think that's the first time we've seen him show up in the multicolored pimp gear, right?
No, because he's come out with some hose already a couple times.
Okay. Well, he came out with the hose
before he got injured.
I thought he was coming out and just kind of like a half nation get up with the hat. Yeah. This is the
maybe
first time he's in like
as this one.
Yes, the pastels.
I know he had the hat on.
Yeah.
Before, but yeah, maybe.
Now he's the pimpin' Godfather that we all know and love. Kai and Tai, they were there in matching blue outfits that they became most well known for. Still 4 members, though, in the ring. So Tiger Ali Singh, he's there. He's apparently still on the roster. So that was good to see. And I saw the Hardy Boys. They were in the mix. Bob Holly was there. He was looking absolutely miserable, leaning on the ropes like he was just a chore to have crawled out from the wreckage of his burning sprint car. And a head chant got going in the crowd. Al Snow was sitting on top of a turnbuckle, which just goes to show how smart Al Snow is. Even though there is a literal crowd of talent, he managed to literally stand out amongst it and get a crowd chant just for him going.
Poor Al, he ain't right.
Yeah, and that's he's up against talent like The Rock and Ken Shamrock, who were also there in the ring. So and it's just a little kudos to him I wanted to throw out there to capture that moment. But then Vince McMahon came out in a wheelchair, surrounded by the Stooges. The big boss man was there, still wearing that fucking ski mask. And JR said that it must have been orgasmic for Vince to fire Austin last night.
Better than sex.
So Vince let us know here that he is kicking the can for another month down the road, guaranteeing that there will be a new WWF champion at Survivor Series, and then tells us that's going to be after a 16-man tournament on the pay-per-view, with the winner becoming the champion, and I became immediately erect, having heard
bracket in our future.
Yes.
I think that also confirms our question from last week. This Survivor Series doesn't sound like it's going to have any Survivor Series matches.
Yep.
Maybe we'll have one. I don't know, but
yeah. Well, Vince went on to describe for the crowd the events of the pay-per-view last night, specifically the firing of Steve Austin.
You're fired!
Vince emphasized to the crowd that firing Stone Cold Steve Austin was better than sex. Vince then capped his speech saying that McMahon 316 says, "I've got the brass to fire your ass." And just as Vince was wheeling away up on the Titantron, we got a live shot of Steve Austin with a fucking assault rifle.
With scope.
In full camo, just loading out for mission. And after a commercial break, we came back to Vince and the group there, taking Vince back to a secure location. Vince was ordering the boss man to get Vince's family out of town, get them on an airplane and get them out. Meanwhile, Steve was still out in that truck polishing what the boss man had said to Vince was a Model 316 rifle, which I thought was hilarious.
I heard a shotgun thrown out there too by one of them.
Yeah. And that is where this rather girthy opening segment ended. So, guys, we're in another iconic episode of Raw, and I won't spoil the future of this episode just yet, but for anybody that has watched this in the past, and as Ryan has said in a previous episode, the hunting outfit on Stone Cold Steve Austin here is an absolute dead giveaway for this episode. And we're getting the progression of that story here, which is good, but the part that I personally am most excited about, sounds like we're going to have brackets, baby. The Survivor Series gimmick match is gone. We're going to have 60, not just brackets, but 16-man bracket tournament.
Beautiful.
To give us a champion. I fucking love that idea. I'm a mark for brackets. Joe, what'd you think of how our show opened here?
Well, I'll start with Mr. McMahon cutting a great promo here. This was just the classic heel Mr. McMahon. We get some of these classic sayings that he has with the brass to fire your ass, which is great. So it's a great promo. As I said the past couple of weeks, I love wheelchair Mr. McMahon. I think it's hilarious still, even after the past few weeks we've seen him in that situation. And yeah, this Steve Austin situation here with this enormous rifle, it's definitely not something that they would do now in 2025. I'm honestly surprised they did this in 98, considering the heat that they got with the Pillman's Got a Gun angle. Just less than 2 years ago, I think is when that was. So
I'm assuming they ran this one by USA, right?
I don't know. They're essentially doing an angle that Austin might go postal after getting fired. Right. Like, that's about as extreme as you can get. The thing about Austin that I thought of here was one of the reasons why Austin is just one of maybe the best WWF superstar of all time is because nobody cares about the title right now that much. Yeah. Like, they're just, Steve Austin is so over. Past 2 pay-per-views, there hasn't even been a champion that left those events. And now we still don't give a shit about the title. We're having some cheap-ass tournament to crown a new champion.
That tournament has a bracket.
Yeah. And did they clarify if the tournament is going to be, I'm assuming it's going to be starting in the weeks leading up to Survivor Series, right?
No,
they made it sound like it was during there.
Yeah, it's entirely during the pay-per-view.
I absolutely hate that a lot.
I also will just start off with Vince coming out on the wheelchair because it's just so beautiful. It adds to the people booing him just because of the way he acts in this wheelchair. I really hope that he uses this wheelchair for months like D-Lo in the fucking chest protector. Just wears it into the ground, but I know they're not going to. But I do enjoy that a lot. I guess I'm indifferent to the Survivor Series tournament that we're going to get. I don't love or hate it. I'm waiting to see how it's going to turn out. But hopefully for the 3rd pay-per-view in a row, we don't get blue balls and they actually give us a fucking champ by the end of it, which I assume it being Survivor Series that it will, but I guess we'll see. But Austin, they show him, he's going to flat out murder McMahon is basically what they're alleging here. And I don't know about you, but even if I'm a WCW fan, I'm probably sticking around if you're telling me they're going to murder Vince McMahon on live television. So way to go. Hell of a segment. I'm still loving it. It's funny. The pay-per-view last week or last night, depending on how you want to look at it, was the low point of the last month. Yeah. The Raws have been amazing, but that pay-per-view was a bit of a letdown. So it's funny how that's working out.
Yeah, and I completely agree. And we'll get more of it throughout the night here, and we will talk about it. But the implication is heavy that there will be a murder here tonight.
Yeah. And according to JR, Vince McMahon deserves it.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Pretty much.
Yeah. And I also
Well, what do you want? Unjustifiably fired.
I also love the wheelchair, and I noted here tonight that it is a WWF branded electric wheelchair, so it's top of the line.
I was sad, though. He seemed to have dropped the placard on the back, the sparkly Mr. McMahon placard.
The thing was constantly falling off.
Yeah, it's not there anymore.
Let's move it along into our first match of the night. X-Pac with China defeats Ken Shamrock by pinfall in 4 minutes and 17 seconds. Let's not forget that Shamrock had assaulted Triple H on Heat last week, so I was assuming that this was some kind of revenge play. And I had to note that X-Pac was not wearing any DX gear at all here. So we're getting further along the lines towards DX being less of a thing and everybody having more of a solo act for themselves. That's not official by any means, but the lack of the bright green DX on X-Pac was distinct. We also had a quick aside that DX had hung out with Motley Crue on a tour bus. There was no word on whether or not any heroin was done with Nikki Sixx while they were there.
It was just assumed.
Yeah, and Mick Mars definitely looked like the oldest person there, which he was, so statistically, but he always has. Back in the ring, the match was looking good. And then we switched to a view of that secure location with Jerry Briscoe reassuring Vince, and I realized here, it's been 25 years since I've watched this, I realized here at this point that was what the entire episode was going to be like, breaking back to Vince, checking in on stories. This is going to be a story episode, as if the 15-minute opening segment weren't enough to give it away. Sure enough, some police officers arrived there at ringside to arrest Chyna, with JR reminding us that Chyna has been accused of sexual harassment by Mark Henry, which, last I checked, was more of a civil matter, not requiring being arrested, but...
I'm glad they're taking care of Chyna and not the guy that has an enormous rifle outside the arena.
He's done nothing wrong yet. He's hunting.
He's hunting deer.
Well,
God damn it.
As we move forward, we are going to learn quite a bit about the law enforcement situation of Milwaukee. So, I have every single instance noted, don't you worry.
What type of town is this?
So the match progressed until Mankind came down to the ring. He distracted Shamrock, who then dragged Mankind into the ring. Mankind applied the mandible claw. Shamrock reversed it with a power slam, and that reversal is what gave X-Pac the opening to hit an X-Factor, or Facebuster, whichever you want to call it, getting the pin and the win, and we quickly moved away from there. So I thought the action in the ring, the little of it that we were able to watch, looked great, but we're telling stories tonight, pal, and in the case of that finish at least, that's some lazy-ass storytelling. I didn't care for it. Mankind just showing up doesn't make a whole lot of sense to me, nor does the referee ignoring everything that followed. Joe, what'd you think of this?
Yeah, unfortunately, I don't have much about the match itself, which I wish I did. I like both of these wrestlers. DX visiting Motley Crue's bus, that really took me back. I saw Tommy Lee with his weird braided hairstyle. This was maybe like a year or two before he did that terrible solo project, Methods of Mayhem. You remember that?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
So, yeah, that took me back. Yeah, this Chyna and Mark Henry thing that they have going, it's been going on for weeks, and I want them to just get to the point here. Where are they going with this? And
it's a little too slow of a burn.
Yeah, I wonder if it's maybe because they still have this Mark Henry and The Rock stuff to hash out, that they're waiting for that to happen and then move him on to this Chyna story. But I don't know. This was definitely storytelling and not really great, to be honest, because like you said, Bartlett, just Mankind just showing up with Socko is where we are with that now. So, I mean, they brawled outside into the crowd, right? So they gave us something, I guess, him and Shamrock. but it just wasn't that exciting to me.
As you both pointed out, this is all about storytelling. And it's unfortunate because it goes back to what we were saying about X-Pac and D'Lo Brown for a few weeks leading into that pay-per-view, where this is a match I'd love to see.
Yeah.
X-Pac and Shamrock in a longer setting that isn't about distractions and storytelling, because almost immediately we get distracted from the match. This is where JR, he's talking about nothing but the Vince McMahon and Austin thing, and this is where he says, I hope he doesn't go postal. Then the officers come out and arrest China. I completely agree, Joe. I like the story. I know I'm going to enjoy where it goes. It just get there already. Just fucking do something a little bit more with it, at least, even if you're not going to get to the grand conclusion of it all. But disappointing. Mankind stuff at the end, okay, I will enjoy to see another Mankind Shamrock match. I don't hate that they're continuing the feud. I just felt this was a very weak way to have Mankind come in. He puts the mandible claw on Shamrock right in, directly in front of the ref's face.
Yeah.
And there's no disqualification. And then X-Pac's allowed to hit the X Factor for the win. Why?
Yeah.
Right in front of the ref was he allowed to put the mandible claw on and not be a disqualification. I don't know. I was scratching my head at that. They didn't do enough here. This was a missed opportunity.
Yeah, completely agree with that. Well, we'll keep it moving because there's going to be, again, quite a bit of storytelling throughout the night. I don't really think that any of the other matches suffer from that storytelling as much as this one did, but maybe our opinions will change as we talk here. So going back to the storytelling, back in the loading dock, the police were there still escorting China out of the building. The outlaws were following, yelling at them for taking her. But then after the police pulled out with China, the remaining police noticed Stone Cold Steve Austin sitting alone in a black idling pickup truck armed to the teeth with an assault rifle and a sidearm. And sensing nothing amiss, the police got Austin's autograph.
Well, they asked to see his gun because they wanted to admire it.
Oh, yeah. We switched it over to Vince and the Stooges from there, though, and Vince and the Stooges apparently have more sense than the Milwaukee police because they expressed concern that an armed, stalking trespasser was within the vicinity, and they ordered Vince's police escort to go do something about it. The police officer there, he confirmed the nature of the situation and then said that he was not there to get killed and walked out. Ryan, the Milwaukee police are aware.
Top notch.
They're aware that there will probably be at least an attempted murder tonight, and they are unwilling to do anything about it. What did you think of this update to our story here?
I don't know what you're talking about. He's done nothing wrong. He's just hunting. The cops agreed with that. They saw a very angry man stalking the back of a corporate building with weapons, multiple, assault rifle, sidearm. But yeah, that seems to be fine by these police officers. They don't care. But China, man, she's got to go down. Yeah. That vicious, disgusting, sexual predator, China. But the rattlesnake with a couple bullets with Vince's name on it, that's perfectly fine.
Yeah, I loved with security talking to Steve Austin, talking about guns and getting autographs. I thought that was just fucking great.
It was.
Hilarious. And then you have Mr. McMahon. We got a lot of Jerry Briscoe. Mr. McMahon. We got a lot of that tonight. Such a classic wrestling move to whatever town they're in, make their law enforcement look so inept and terrible at their jobs. It's just such a classic move. And that cop with the thickest Milwaukee accent ever walking out was also hilarious. So this was a good segment.
Well, it can't last forever. Let's head into the number 2 match spot. The Headbangers defeat LOD 2000. This was Animal and Draws with Hawk at the outside by pinfall in 1 minute and 54 seconds. The Headbangers, they imitated the New Age Outlaws intro here. I liked that. And a minute 54. This wasn't bad for what it was. There was some questionable interference from Hawk that really wasn't interference. We didn't really get to see it because there wasn't much focus really on the match, but that's what gave Thrasher the opportunity opportunity for a surprise roll-up. And that's it. I continue to like the improvement of the Headbangers, and while this was basically nothing in the grand scheme of things, this was still an improvement from where they were 4 months ago, 3 months ago, hell, 4 weeks ago. But this LOD story, it feels like we're missing big parts of it, and I have a feeling that most of it's happening on Saturday Morning Superstars. They're really going to dive deep into the addiction issues of Hawk on the Saturday morning kids show, and that's where it belongs. Ryan, what'd you have on this match?
I agree that it actually wasn't as bad as I guess I thought it was going to be. And that does go with the fact that the Headbangers appear to be giving a bit of a push right now. They got brought back into Raw. They showed up on a pay-per-view. And I didn't hate their making fun of the Outlaws, especially with their little fake foam belts that they had.
Yeah.
I thought it was actually funny. The match, though, a minute whatever against the LOD that I stopped caring about a year ago. I don't care where the story's going, but good for the Headbangers. I guess trying to take advantage of an opportunity they're given here.
Yeah.
I thought this was a great shotgun Saturday night match. That's it. That's all I have.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah.
All right. Well, that's good because we didn't waste any time getting away from it because we had to check back in at that secure location. So let's keep in mind that the boss man left earlier to get Vince's family out of the state of Wisconsin. And now here, all of the Stooges left Vince alone in his wheelchair while they went to get coffee. Which I thought was just hilarious. And sure enough, after they were gone, there was some heavy banging on the door. And no, it wasn't Austin. It was Mankind and Socko showing up to volunteer for guard duty. For
Sheriff
Vince.
Socko.
Sheriff Socko, that's right.
Vinny's got a sweet tooth.
He had a bag of candy there with him and a garbage bag full of God knows what. We didn't know at that point what was in it. And Mankind said that they were going to get to know each other real well as we went back to the arena. There, the bell tolled, and the Undertaker began his entrance. Whenever the fireworks went off, Jerry Lawler yelled, "Was that a gun?" And I popped my fucking ass off. Paul Bearer was there with the Undertaker, who looked like his hair was freshly shampooed and conditioned. Undertaker started off saying that Brother Paul was here to lead the Undertaker's Ministry of Darkness. And there we go. I guess Taker got over his summer depression and moved away from his Mr. Sweatpants phase. The Undertaker said as much because he said that Paul helped him clear his head and refocus. Paul got on the microphone. He cut a promo on Kane. JR called him a rotund demon, and I popped for that. Taker then got on the mic again to announce that he set that fire on purpose, the one way back when, therefore admitting to 2 murders and the attempted murder of 1 more person in doing so.
The police don't care about that.
No, they're taking care of
Not these
China
guys.
right now.
They're getting autographs.
There's someone going, yeah, but he might hit us. Leave him alone.
But then the hellfire and brimstone erupted as Kane came out, pushing a casket that was very conveniently close by, and then pulled out the old Goozle vibrator to challenge The Undertaker to a casket match later tonight in retaliation for that attempted murder. Because, as we all know by now, in Milwaukee, Wisconsin, there is no rule of law.
Well, except if you're a woman who's sexually assaulted someone.
Well, right. This is the North Midwest. Back in Vince's room, Mankind and Vince were still in there having a good time. They were having a great discussion. I'm not going to quote it, but it was a great discussion about rehiring Steve Austin. And all of that culminated in Mankind trying to get Vince to play Twister, which was perfect because Vince is in a fucking wheelchair. Like the little things that Mick Foley brings to this never cease to entertain me because it's these small details that make me love it so much. Vince kicked Mankind out, and that's where this segment ended. So, Joe, the story continues in more ways than one. The ministry is officially announced. 2 confirmed murderers are not only escaping justice, but using their crimes to entertain millions. And poor Mankind was not appreciated by Vince at all. What'd you have on all this?
Well, actually, at first, Mankind was appreciated by Vince. I liked how they split this segment with Mankind because at first Vince is very happy to see Mankind because, like you said, those dumbasses all left Vince there to go get coffee or whatever they were doing.
Well, they're gone for the rest of the episode, so they just...
spoiler alert, jeez. Yeah, so Mankind comes in and Vince is happy to see him, and then we get this Undertaker Paul Bearer promo, which, like you said, he drops the Ministry of Darkness in there, so we know where that's going. That's great to see, but I'm just happy to see Paul fucking Bearer with the Undertaker again, just in general. Then we come back and we get that. We get Mankind annoying the shit out of Vince McMahon, which is hilarious, and he just kicks him out. Like, he's so annoyed with Mankind that he just kicks him out, and now he's there all alone. So it's just piecing things together here with this Vince McMahon situation is looking good right now.
The moment I heard just how the knock at the door was, I knew it was Mankind. Like, who else was it going to be? And he came in here talking about Vinny's sweet tooth. And I did like it, like you just said, Joe, how this first segment, Vince is thankful. He's got someone here to perhaps save him from being murdered. But later on, he's going to be so annoyed by him that he doesn't care. He'd rather be killed than to keep Mankind around trying to play Twister with him. So I thought those beginning and end segments were fantastic. And in between, we got a really good promo from The Undertaker. Not only do we get the first mention and the second, he says it twice, the Ministry of Darkness. So that's definitely something they're going to be leading to in the very near future since they're dropping that name. And my favorite part, God, Paul Bearer. Like, yes, the fact that he's back with The Undertaker, that's just amazing. Feels right is the way I see it. But when The Undertaker started talking about how Paul Bearer was the most evil, despicable, and right over his shoulder, Paul Bearer just smiling and shaking his jaws, laughing and smiling. It was just so fucking beautiful. It's why I love Paul Bearer. He then rips into his own son, calling him fucking weak. There were just so many great lines here from everyone. And then we learned Kane wants a casket match. And it's funny, in 24 hours, I'm back to caring about their story now. Like, it shows just how misbooked the heavyweight title was at Judgment Day. We didn't care about that at all. Take away the title and the fact that they're fighting for that and bring it back to their family and hellfire and brimstone, and all of a sudden I care about their story again. So let's keep the belt far away from these two, and I'll continue to enjoy them.
Yeah, that's a great call. I didn't think about it that way at all, and I'm not sure I'm as up on it as you are, because I'm still a touch burned out, jaded, you might say, from the story that we've had so far. But you do make an excellent point. Taking the title out of this was the best thing they could have done for these guys. So I'm optimistic then that things will get better. Let's keep it moving to our next match. Steve Blackman defeats Jeff Jarrett with Debra McMichael by disqualification in 2 minutes and 29 seconds. This is the apparent debut of Debra here. And while her hair looked terrible, the rest of her looked great. And there was just some general questioning by commentary as to what exactly the nature of the situation here is. I'm sure we'll get that clarified for us sometime in the near future. But in the meantime, a show your tits chant got going in the crowd.
Classy crowd.
Why not?
Welcome to Milwaukee, Debra. And the DQ, the disqualification, came when the Blue Blazer showed up and attacked Blackman. That wasn't the end of that, though. Jeff Jarrett pulled out a guitar that was conveniently under the ring and was going to hit Blackman, but then Al Snow showed up. I'm not sure why, seemingly to protect Blackman, but we don't really know. But Head got distracted by Debra McMichael. Head then distracted Al, and Al took that guitar shot instead. I don't have anything else, Joe. This really felt like a cluster. By the end of it, we've got, on the one hand, the great debut of Debra McMichael, who I always liked, but then the rest of this was just a cluster. What'd you think of it?
Yeah, seeing Debra here is interesting for those of us who were watching both WCW and WWF back then, because WCW, she was married to Mongo, and she had the beauty queen, pageant queen gimmick, so she was always fully covered, but now it seems as though she's back on the market, no longer married, and she's showing it off a little bit more here. She's got the sable blowout hairdo, the huge breast implants, and a great pair of legs. She's got some toned. It looks like Kurgan does nothing but lat pull downs. I think Debra does nothing but leg press machine
and calf raises.
She looks great. It's a great look for her. I don't know why you would cover that all up in WCW, but this is good to see her here. And yeah, this blue blazer and Jeff Jarrett double teaming the Steve Blackman, just man. This blue blazer thing is just not good from the start. It's just not good at all. I read in the Observer that Owen Hart was dealing with an injury, so that might be why they're not really having him do much yet.
Just doing run-ins.
Yeah, so maybe we'll get more with this later and it'll get a little bit better, but yeah, it's just not a good start.
The match itself, Bartlett, you said at the end of your comments that there's just a bit too much going on here, is the problem with Al Snow at the end coming in and guitars being hit, all of that. Really, the highlight of this was the debut of Debra McMichael, because we officially got puppies.
Yeah.
She is who the king will famously say puppies about. So we have that to look forward to. The blue blazer thing, I don't know what they're trying to do, because again, they try and cover it up, but then someone does say, wow, it's rumored it's Owen Hart. And it's like, well, it's not rumored. We saw last night on Judgment Day in the locker room that it was definitely Owen Hart. There's no guess here, right? But I don't know. They're going to try and make this blue blazer thing, I guess, be a question, but it's not. So yeah, the match, complete throwaway, but very excited to have Debra back. Or not back, but Debra here.
Yeah. Yeah, and I was just thinking to myself, we have, and please correct me if I'm wrong, but of all of the female superstars, we do not have a single natural breast present. And
No.
And yet still Sables are somehow the worst out of all of them and completely unappealing. That's just me, but my personal taste. But it shocks me as we keep on getting these blatantly obvious bolt-ons, and they still just tend to outclass Sable every time they get displayed. So I don't know.
It's what the WWF has always wanted, is bolted on tits.
Yep. And they have it in spades now. All right. So let's keep it moving. We're going to check back into that secure location. Vince was alone with a ringing phone. And I popped because, like, this is pure horror story
It's like
shit.
a scream movie.
The call is coming from inside the house. Kind of.
Vince does his gulp.
Yeah, like
before he answers.
scared Vince.
Vince wheeled over to the phone to answer it, and it was Stone Cold Steve Austin saying, "Vince, your time is up, you sorry bastard."
With some kind of voice changer.
He got that Kane one.
Yeah.
The Goozle vibrator. Vince then called his limo driver. He first asked the limo driver to keep an eye out for Austin, and then asked him to back the limo up to the exit door, keep the engine running, and leave the door open for him. And Vince made a run for it, or made a slow-paced, wheeling escape for it. He wheeled out through the building to the limo waiting for him, but Austin was there waiting for him too, playing with Vince for a minute there in the parking lot before then wheeling Vince back into the building past a lot of people who just stood by and watched without intervening in an apparent kidnapping.
Attempted murder, maybe, as well.
During all of this, JR took the opportunity to remind us that Vince thought firing Austin was better than sex.
He deserves it.
Yep, deserves to die.
Back in that room again, the psychological torture began, with Austin toying with Vince, and this is just where it started. Ryan, so now that we have total and complete confirmation that we are in a lawless hellscape called Milwaukee, we've moved on to kidnapping and torture. What did you think of this segment?
I think it's great that on live television, we've got kidnapping and torture, and the on-premise police still won't do anything, even though they know exactly what room they're in.
Yeah.
That's beautiful. Thank you, Milwaukee. Milwaukee's best.
Yeah.
Not the beer.
Not just their finest, their best.
This is great. Anyone who loves storytelling in wrestling, how can you not enjoy the suspense that was built here? We're full-on show or movie type shit here now with this storyline. And then when Stone Cold does finally get his hands on Austin or on Vince, the way he was slamming him into everything with that leg. And then my favorite line, Stone Cold says, "Don't worry, I used to work in a hospital," calling back to the bedpan incident from a few weeks ago. So that was beautiful too. How could you hate this? This is just lovely shit going on right now.
Yeah, I'm a big fan of scared Vince with the phone ringing here. That was great. And they're doing a perfect job of making everyone around Vince look like an absolute stooge. Between the actual stooges, the cops, now this limo driver, it's perfect. They're all a bunch of stooges, and it's hilarious.
He's surrounded himself with idiots.
Yes.
All right, let's keep it moving to our next match. The Rock defeats D'Lo Brown with Mark Henry by pinfall in 3 minutes and 43 seconds. The Rock had new music here tonight. I don't remember this at all, so we know it's not going to last then, but it was just kind of a little jarring. It was kind of strange. And the action in this was great, which is to be expected. It made me think of these great conversations that we've had over the past couple weeks about working styles, specifically like The Rock, D'Lo, Mark Henry. We've mentioned how these guys' styles have interplayed with each other, and here we got an example of somebody bigger, faster, stronger than D'Lo, but D'Lo holding his own against them. And I can't reiterate enough how fucking great of a worker D'Lo Brown is. Rocky was in there hitting his people's elbow. The crowd popped for it, but D'Lo jumped up out of the elbow because, as commentary noted for us, that chest protector makes D'Lo immune to the people's elbow. Loved it. So The Rock switched to the rock bottom because, again, as commentary notes for us, D'Lo has no back protector on. And that immaculate logic is what got The Rock the pin and the win, and me popping my ass off. Mark Henry jumped in after the pinfall. He and D'Lo worked over The Rock until officials showed up. And as this wrapped up, we got a view of a sign in the crowd that said D'Lo Fan Club. And I popped one last time for this match.
That was you.
Yeah.
I wish it was. I thought this was a great match, a great way to bridge the time between now and Survivor Series, which I have a feeling is going to be a big night for The Rock. Ryan, what'd you think of this match?
I was entertained. I talked about how at Judgment Day, The Rock versus Mark Henry maybe felt out of place just in talent, with Mark Henry leading into the main event at the pay-per-view. But this is the perfect place to have him feud with D'Lo or Mark Henry as they finish out the fall of the nation, if you will. That was good, and they really worked well together. I don't know if while they've been teammates for the last year that they work out together, but this was a fun match to watch. I loved, as you pointed out, the commentary leading us like, oh, the chest protector saved him, but it won't help him with the rock bottom. And I really loved the way The Rock landed the rock bottom, the way he caught D'Lo as he jumped off the top rope into the rock bottom. So that was cool to see. And then I guess this feud with the former nation isn't completely over, because then D'Lo and Henry attack The Rock and kind of leave him limp and lifeless after attacking him. So I guess we're going to get a little bit more of it, but I highly enjoyed this match. It was fun.
Yeah, during the entrance, D'Lo has the full-blown D'Lo walk down the ramp now, which is just a beautiful thing to see. Yep. He's just really
head
laying
shaking
into it. Yeah. And not only are you a member of the D'Lo Brown fan club, Bartlett, but you are also the president of that fan club.
Yep.
For The Rock, I just thought about like how crazy it is that he's been there for 2 years, and we just noticed like a month or two ago that he's really, really over with these crowds now. And it just goes to show like he did that all organically on his own, just by creating his character. Steve Austin had the similar situation where it took a couple of years for him to really catch on, but he didn't really catch on until he had that adversary in Vince McMahon. So seeing The Rock do this just all on his own is really impressive because he was absolutely hated when he first came in.
Yeah.
Literally screaming for him to die.
Yeah. 2 years later, he's a rising star and already talking about getting him in some movies and TV shows and all kinds of stuff.
Blue chipper.
Blue chipper. Defined right there. And the camera crews, I got to give them credit too. Bucky Beaver, Kevin Dunn, for doing a great job at capturing the people's elbow now. Because I don't know if you guys noticed, but they pan away.
Yeah.
Whenever he's setting up for it. So you really see that whole crowd. You see The Rock's back and you see him facing the crowd and the crowd just loving it. And then they pan in on it whenever he hits it with a different angle. So it's just a really, really good production for someone's finishing move that they don't really do for anyone else.
Yeah. Yeah, completely agreed. And I've been noticing that too, what they've been doing for the people's elbow. When, or maybe it just happens on its own eventually, but like at some point he starts facing the hard camera. Because that first view that you're talking about that takes in the entire crowd, that's the hard camera. And usually we talk about wrestlers, I'll say, positioning themselves so that they can get their face in for the hard camera. And he's not doing that. So I'm not sure what that is or why that is. I know he does eventually start doing it to face the hard camera.
Yeah.
But it's just a small thing that you notice. So moving along to backstage once again, Steve Austin was making Vince watch Steve hone his knife on his pant leg, and then he literally jump scared Vince, acting like he was going to stab Vince in the leg, but he didn't. This was just a real brief check-in with them, because then we went to the ring to find Tiger Ali Singh and Babu there in the ring. Babu had some hot dogs and other cased meats on the grill, and I popped, even though the grill wasn't on or filled with charcoal and was literally brand new, didn't have a drop of grease on it.
Yeah, grilling those dogs with no fire at all.
Yeah. I decided to just suspend disbelief and say that they must have been cooked prior to coming out. Tiger then did his thing where he offered to pay $500 to anyone willing to come into the ring and, quote, swallow Babu's kielbasa whole, unquote. Babu then picked an obvious plant. As soon as I saw her glittery shirt and odd posture, I knew she was a circus performer. Don't ask me how I knew beyond that, but I knew.
Not to mention the tats were hanging out.
Deep down in me, I knew that she is a professional at shoving things down her throat. And sure enough, she deep-throated that fucker. The whole thing, all the way down. But then Tiger got interrupted by the Godfather, who claimed that the pro in the ring was one of his pros, one of the Godfather's tricks. Godfather wanted his cut to that $500. But that erupted into a fight. And so by the looks of things, we're going to have a program between the Godfather and Tiger Ali Singh, and I am fucking here for it. I love it.
Until we actually see Tiger in the ring, I'll hold out my opinion on that.
Back in Vince's room, Austin, he had been shooting arrows into the wall and making Vince look at them. Then Steve pulled out a literal deliverance situation, making Vince squeal like a pig, which Vince didn't do very well at all. He just started going, which is not how a pig squeals at all.
Oink, 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 oink.
But then Steve pulled out a misery reference. He put a 2x4 between Vince's legs.
He's gonna hobble him.
Vince started yelling for help, and that got Vince's mouth duct taped shut and then duct taped to the wheelchair. So, Joe, not only did the torture continue here, but we also got the Godfather on our screens in full pimp mode. We got Tiger Ali Singh, and of course we got some glizzies. What did you think of all of it?
Well, this Tiger Ali Singh segment here, he's wearing these horribly loose-fitting sports coats. They're way too big. It bothers me.
They have a very 80s look to them,
yeah,
like with the giant shoulder pads.
Yeah, you'd think that somebody would tell him to, I don't know, somebody would style him differently if he's going to be on TV. He's on TV with the Kielbasa Queen here, which is who that is, by the way, from Howard Stern. That's the Kielbasa Queen.
Oh, okay. Yeah, you're the Howard Stern guy.
Deep throat sausages on Howard's show.
So there probably would have been a lot of people watching then that would have known who she was.
Probably, yeah, maybe. I don't know if Howard was on. I think he was on TV sometimes back then. So
at this point, he was on E, I think.
Yeah. So that's what that was. And Godfather, what did he say? He said Tiger could have paid $500 to have her for the whole night.
Or no, you could have had her for much less.
Or for much less, yeah. Yeah, just proving what a jackass Tiger Ali Singh is. And that's nice to see Godfather come out and burn someone like that. And then seeing Mr. McMahon oinking like a pig was not a great look for the owner of the WWF. That's pretty humiliating.
Yeah, the first segment before we go to the Tiger Ali Singh, I got a really good line out of there when Austin said that he was going to go hunting deer, but he got a jackass instead. I thought that was funny. Tiger Ali Singh in the ring here with Babu. We've liked these segments in the past, but they disappeared, and I completely forgot about them. So I'm glad they brought this back. They want a woman to swallow Babu's kabasi whole, and they pick some middle-aged glittery tits woman. She fucking deep throats the whole thing, and it was funny because I saw her, and I basically in my head said the same line that Godfather did. $500 seems a little bit high for that quality of woman. So I love that we have the Godfather. We're fully establishing his character here. And really, it was a great way to bring him, leading him in to have this feud with Tiger Ali Singh. I thought that all worked out great. And then we cut back to Vince and Stone Cold, and we get a few more threats here. So earlier we got murder threats with the deliverance talk. We're getting ass raping threats, I guess.
You got to play the sound.
My rectal area. You violated me.
That's apparently what he wants to do to Vince here. And then after he does that, he's going to shatter both of his fucking legs after he hobbles them. So we have all of these threats of murder, violence, and rape. Vince is screaming out for help, and still the police are nowhere.
You'd think someone would hear the oinking.
You would think the oinking or the screams for the pleads for help. I'm loving the story. The violence, rape, and murder story that we're getting from Stone Cold, and I can't wait to see how it plays out.
Well, as we journey through this episode of rape, murder, and torture, let's take a quick aside to our next match. Val Venus with Terry Runnels defeats Mankind by pinfall in 3 minutes and 35 seconds. Apparently, Val's balls are still hurting from when Goldust punted them through Val's tonsils at the pay-per-view last night. And this match was just there for me until Shamrock showed up to poke Mankind in the knee with a chair. That's not an exaggeration or an under-exaggeration or whatever. It caused Mankind to collapse, and Val got the pin and the win there. Mankind and Shamrock then battled it out through the crowd. But then the Shattered Dreams Productions came up on the screen, and Goldust was up there and delivered a promo on Val, which I really liked. That was a classic Goldust promo. But then in the ring, Terry said something to Val, which disgusted him, and Val left. We did not get any closure as to what it was that was said there. It was left hanging. So that's it. This program between Val and Goldust is really weird to me. Like, on the one hand, I'm happy that Goldust is back, but the program itself, it's just really lacking something. And I'm honestly not sure what it is. But I know what the problem with the match was, and it's the idea that a poke from a chair is enough to take Mankind out. We've been exposed to how much punishment he can take for years at this point, and that just was not believable. It was, in my opinion, it was the weakest interference of the night. Joe, what'd you have on this match?
Not much on the match, just because of the way it ended with Shamrock ending this early, so it's really more storytelling with Val Venus and Goldust. I agree. I liked this Goldust promo. I loved him quoting First Blood, 1982. Classic Goldust promo. You mentioned there's just something lacking here with this Goldust and Val Venus feud, and I think it's just because Goldust is being too G-rated. I think, with this. Maybe that was something that he wanted to do when he when he was bringing Goldust back, maybe he didn't want to do the crazy shit anymore right away. But if there's ever a time for it, I would think it would be with the porn star character that you're feuding with,
your wife,
who banged your wife, who is now pregnant, which is the start of this storyline that may or may not hold up too well. But yeah, we'll see. Spoiler.
I agree with both of you. I love Mankind, but I felt this match was, it was more of a disservice to Mankind. I feel like he's a little bit too big of a star at this point to be putting him in such a throwaway, useless match. And that shows by they scan the crowd, and the amount of Socko signs is shocking in such a short amount of time. Like the crowd just fucking loves Socko. So it just didn't really feel right. It was so short. And then the way that it happened, Bartlett, like you said, that fucking chair poke, like we've seen this man thrown off the top of a 16-foot cage and continue a match, but a light poke in the shin from a chair renders him completely incapacitated. Like, that was a bit hard to take, but the Goldust segment saved it, and I agree with both of you that I feel like something's missing. The way I look at it is the promo that we got out of Goldust here should have been 3 weeks ago.
Yeah.
Should have been this level. Yeah. By now, he should be full on groping and molesting Val. Lights turning off, him showing up behind him and
choppy the pee-pee.
Right. Doing crazy shit at this point. We're far enough in the feud. And I think that's what doesn't feel right, is that they are behind where they should be in building up Goldust.
Yeah, I agree. I completely agree. And Joe, I think you really hit the nail on the head there. Goldust is just way too tame for where we feel like he should be here. Or maybe he's too tame for our expectations of him, at least.
Yeah.
But we'll see. We'll see how this works in the future. Backstage, Austin was still there with Vince, and in the irony of all ironies, Austin wanted to place a wager with Vince on the outcome of the match. I thought that was hilarious, just given that this is pro wrestling.
While talking about violating him and he won't feel a thing.
You violated me!
You won't feel a thing, don't worry.
Vince.
In my rectal area!
So Vince picked Kane, and Austin then said that if Kane wins, Austin was going to do things the easy way, and Vince won't feel a thing. But if there were any other outcome, they would do things the hard way.
Dry.
Another First Blood quote.
Another First Blood quote, correct.
Go ahead and violate him. Dry.
Shave him dry. And that is what took us into our final match of the night. Kane versus The Undertaker with Paul Bearer ends in a no contest in 4 minutes and 40 seconds in a casket match. So here in Milwaukee, Wisconsin, a man that once electrocuted a cable puller to death and set another on fire to die screaming is a babyface.
Well, in Milwaukee, they don't give a shit about murder.
No.
I won't dwell on it, but I'll just point out here real quick that we basically watched this match on pay-per-view last night and didn't care for it, so I wasn't exactly excited for this. The casket match gimmick did nothing for me to make me more interested. The match started, things got going, and it was there. Again, we just watched this last night. This kind of match, this pairing, this matchup is something that should maybe only be seen in the ring intermittently. Give us some time to work a story before we get these guys back in the ring together again. One point, they got to the casket. They were both standing in it. The Undertaker DDT'd Kane into the casket, which I thought looked really good. But then things stopped making sense when the Undertaker insisted on the lid being pulled shut. The referees there, they shut the lid and then looked at each other and gave each other an I don't know shrug. Like Jimmy Corderas had a look on his face that was just like, I don't know what the fuck's going on. I don't know what to do.
Well, he's in Milwaukee. It's just in the water there.
Yeah, lawless. Absolutely lawless. But then Kane and The Undertaker started fighting it out in the casket. And by that, I also mean fighting out of the casket. They put their feet through the base of it. They broke it open.
The balsa wood casket.
And that prevented the finish, because after that, they weren't able to really get it shut. And there wasn't an official word on that, but I took that to mean where they called it as a no contest. Because how else are you going to get a no contest in a casket match? It's fucking no DQ, no count out, blah, blah, blah. So Kane, after that, tried to go after Paul Bearer. Taker hit Kane with a chair there up on the ramp, and Taker and Paul Bearer left. Kane picked up the chair and followed them, and we moved on as a small chorus of boos came from the audience. Guys, at 4 minutes and 40 seconds, this was the longest match of the whole evening.
That was the main event.
Yeah, and I would argue it was the least satisfying or entertaining match. And at this point, we had a full 10 minutes of the episode left. So I am pretty confident in being able to say that this was a throwaway match, despite the setup, despite the casket match gimmick. And I was left wondering if maybe this is symbolic, like the casket getting destroyed in the same night that The Undertaker announces the ministry, just as like maybe a way to say that the old days are over for Taker. And Taker has officially entered the Attitude Era. I don't know. I'm trying to be generous and optimistic with my interpretation. But Ryan, as the resident asshole for The Undertaker, what did you think of this match?
I said in our pay-per-view match last week that monster-on-monster matches, as much as I love these two, just never are exciting. They're always boring matches. However, I did find this to be better than the Judgment Day match, simply because we didn't have the distractions of McMahon, Stone Cold, and the belt. So that made it infinitely better, but the match, the actual wrestling between them, boring. The crowd booing it at the end shows you where it's going. And I agree, this match, when you see there's 10 minutes left and how it ended, it was a bait and switch. I think the audience thought they were going to get a good main event, actual casket match that maybe lasts at least 10 minutes or something, but they didn't. They got these guys punching each other a few times, and then it just was over. They got in the casket, it broke apart, and at first they didn't really tell us what was going on, and JR is like, well, we're in a dilemma here. There's no casket, it's been destroyed. And it's like, yeah, what is going to happen? And then just a few moments later, it dissolves into nothing with like no explanation. So I think that's also what the crowd was doing, was the confusion as to what was going to go on here. So another missed mark in the match, but who gives a fuck? We got more storytelling to go. So let's move on to that.
We're giving the Milwaukee crowd a hard time tonight, but they do have great fan clubs. It's the home of the D'Lo Brown fan club, like we mentioned, and also the Valboski fan club.
We have listeners in Milwaukee.
Yeah.
And the Valboski fan club, I loved those guys in the towels that had Valboski spelled out. I thought that was nice to see. So they have some good fan clubs there in Milwaukee. This match, I think they rightfully booed this match. This match was trash to me. I hated it. Remember when casket matches used to be a big deal? And that's all I could think of during this was a disgrace to casket matches. But Bartlett, I like your interpretation of that. Like maybe this is turning over a new leaf for The Undertaker. Those were the old days. Because they used to use the casket match, they would first off have a huge build up to them, and they would use them as a vehicle to either get rid of guys or give guys time off.
It was the blow-off match.
Injuries where they had to take some time off, Undertaker being one of them at one point.
That was the end of the feud. If you were going to have a casket match, that was going to be the end of the feud.
I don't know. It was a disgrace to the casket match gimmick, I think, from what we've seen up to this point with casket matches and The Undertaker. So I'm tired of Undertaker and Kane at this point in a feud. I want Undertaker to do something else. I think Kane is a jobber. I think he's been a jobber since they jobbed him out in 24 hours. And he's not killing anybody anymore or setting people on fire. So
that's why the crowd booed him.
Yeah, he deserved to get booed out of Milwaukee. Don't come back.
Yeah.
As we've seen tonight, they want blood.
Yes.
Yeah.
They are extremely bloodthirsty.
Violence, murder, and rape.
And they want to see tits.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Tits as well.
Yeah, and the lawlessness the utter and complete lawlessness of Milwaukee and the complete lack of morality and ethics in this crowd. It's not a surprise. And I can't really fault them for booing what they got here if they were expecting somebody to be sent to hell. Because really, let's not forget, that's what happens in a casket match is somebody gets sent straight to hell. We watched The Undertaker fucking pass away up through the Titantron that one time.
And resurrect himself.
Right. And as a wise man once said, Milwaukee, that's Algonquin for the promised land. So...
Man, does this guy know how to party or what?
Yeah, no promised land for anybody here, unfortunately. Just a bunch of booze. As I said before, we had 10 minutes left. Back in Vince's room, Austin was saying that Vince lost since there wasn't a clean victory for Kane, and Austin started wheeling Vince out of that back room, and commentary got a lot of FaceTime here worrying over the fate of Vince McMahon, and the bloodthirsty Milwaukee crowd got some Austin chants going, hoping to see the murder that has been heavily suggested, hoping that was about to take place, and eventually Austin arrived, forcing McMahon out of the wheelchair and to crawl into the ring. The crowd was in a bloodthirsty, lusting craziness for what they were about to witness. The delivery of that murder. Austin asked the production truck to be complicit in the torture of Vince McMahon to play back some recordings of that girthy intro segment from the start of the episode. And then Austin asked the crowd if they wanted Vince's eyes to pop out of his head. And unanimously, the city of Milwaukee screamed, "Hell yeah!"
It was like a fucking gladiators, thumbs down.
Yes. What a great American town.
To which Austin pulled out that .32 caliber revolver that he was carrying as a sidearm. Austin pointed it and pulled the trigger, revealing the Bang 316 gag, and then showed the world that McMahon 316 really says, "I just pissed my pants."
Bedpan McMahon.
Revealing the wet spot down Vince's leg. And then he issued the coup de grace, a stunner for the crowd. But he wasn't done there. After a minute, he picked Vince up to give him the stunner one more time. And after that, we got some extra attitude. Vince laying there in the center of the ring, Austin posing over him with one foot on him with arms raised to work the crowd. And after Austin left, the Stooges finally showed up after the world's longest coffee break. That was just as garbage was starting to be thrown into the ring. They helped McMahon into his wheelchair, and Vincent Kennedy McMahon, weeping in a wheelchair, got wheeled up the ramp, garbage raining down on him as we faded to black. So, as I said at the beginning, one of the most iconic episodes of Raw, some excellent storytelling for Vince and Steve here, a hell of an entertaining episode. Ryan, what'd you have on the way that things ended tonight?
I fucking loved it. When Austin drug Vince's limp body into the ring with his fucking sidearm and bow, and we're about to see an execution on national television.
Yep.
I have to give Vince credit. Being the owner of this company and being in the powerful position that he is, to just act like he's just fucking groveling and acting like such a pathetic... I couldn't imagine many people in his position allowing himself to be this humiliated for the story. And then when Austin said, in so many words, "Do you want me to blow his fucking head off in front of you?" And the crowd just, "Yes, we want fucking blood." But in the end, it's a Looney Tune fucking Bang 316. You know, that helps make it. Obviously, we knew he wasn't going to blow his fucking head off. It was funny, and we see Vince piss himself, further humiliating himself, pee all over himself. And just acting like an absolute baby. One of the longest and possibly best lead-ups for a story that we've seen. This was just segment after segment all night leading up to this, and they were all good. There was really none of those segments tonight leading up to this where I was like, all right, this is getting a bit boring or stupid. Let's get it over with. I was entertained and enthralled in every segment, and the way they ended it was absolutely perfect.
Yeah, it's obviously something that they took the time to plan out and put it all together to essentially, like you said, take up an entire 2-hour Raw show. And this was the payoff, and it worked very well. Watching it on a rewatch now, it doesn't quite hit as hard, but I do remember watching this when it actually aired, and it was must-see TV for sure.
Yeah.
I was not changing the channel.
Yep.
Yeah.
It was one of those times I didn't go over to WCW at all.
Yeah,
night.
so this was sports entertainment. Ryan, like you said, with Vince McMahon just sacrificing himself here to just make a complete jackass out of himself. It makes me think of when JR always says Vince would never ask anyone to do something that he wouldn't do himself, you know? Like he's going to be willing to make himself look like a complete jackass. And also with that, it makes me wonder, okay, what's going to happen in the next couple of weeks? Like, how can he possibly recover from this? Like, he's going to, and I want to see how they do that. Because it's so hard to recover after completely humiliating yourself on TV for 2 hours.
Yeah.
Oh, and also my last point here is the extra attitude. I loved it when you could hear Jerry Briscoe saying, "I'm sorry, Mr. McMahon," as he was wheeling him up the ramp or carrying him up the ramp there.
Vince just,
I'm sorry, Mr. McMahon. Sorry for disappearing for 2 hours.
I really like the way that things all got tied together here, because if you think back throughout the episode and the different segments that led up to this, at the very beginning, whenever the police found Austin out in the parking lot, what he said to them, they said, "Oh, you got a sidearm there." And he's like, "Oh, yeah, just a little toy here." And they never actually showed the gun at that point, but he called it a toy a couple times. And throughout the night, he was saying to Vince, "Don't worry, Vince, I'm not going to actually hurt you." And we all took it as psychological torture, but really, in the end, he really wasn't going to. And then a couple times he said, "Vince, you're not going to feel a thing." And he didn't, because it was a toy. So these little hints that we got all throughout, just, I don't know. And I actually will get to that here shortly, what I think of that. So as I said, we faded to black. So let's take it on over to highlights and lowlights. Joe, why don't you take that first?
Well, quite frankly, for a highlight, I have to go with the Milwaukee crowd. I have no choice, but
Yeah, savages.
yeah, they're savages and really helped put this over and made this look exciting the whole way through. And for low light, man, I don't know. This episode was just so good because of that main driving storyline. So I'm going to go ahead and say that I don't really have a low light on this episode.
My highlight, I guess I'm going to take the obvious, the episode-long story here with Austin hunting McMahon, the 316 bang, all of it perfect, classic. It's amazing. It was an amazing episode. And because of that, even though I did have some nitpicking things I could go with, I'm with you, Joe. No low light. This was just too much story packed in here. I love too much of it to nitpick and give a low light.
Yeah, so I am a nitpicking dickbag.
Well, we know.
Yeah, but I felt I owed it to this episode because of how great this episode is, and I think you'll maybe get it here once I tell you where I'm coming from. So, highlight the writers. This is what I was talking about a moment ago with those little hints about the payoff. We got
the foreshadowing.
Yeah, they telegraphed the payoff, but it was so subtle throughout that we never picked up on it, and in the end it makes sense. But this episode was a great example of that saying, best damn soap opera on TV.
Yep.
This was one of those episodes where, like, I'm willing to give the relative lack of wrestling a complete pass because of how entertaining the rest of it is. I'm not usually that generous with that. But then my low light, I also had to go with the writers, because the past few weeks, they have been knocking it out of the park with Austin McMahon, and they have let some other opportunities for equally great storytelling, like Goldust, completely slip through their fingers. There is a distinct, marked difference between the quality of writing storyline-wise with Vince and Austin, and then literally everything else. And I really just feel like there could have been a little more of a balance going on there. Sure, Austin McMahon is what's making you money right now, so you're not going to deprive that of any resources, but a little more can be given to the rest of the roster. And I just, again, Goldust is the prime example of that. I think that his return could have been a lot better than what it was if they weren't just all shoved up Vince McMahon's ass.
The one thing I'll say...
That's exactly right, the rectal area.
One thing I'll say about that is when you're running a business, Goldust is not the guy that's selling 10,000 shirts in the arena that night.
Right.
Yep.
They right, and I don't disagree with that, but at the same time, I mean, they really let that ball drop, and they're not just him. He's just like the worst case example, but
Mankind, Shamrock thing, that was weak.
Right. The whole tag team division, not that they ever gave a shit before, but they've got a little more talent to work with now. That could be a little bit better. But anyway, that's, again, I'm a nitpicking dickbag. That's shouldn't be a surprise.
Screw you!
So, Joseph, do you have any contemporary wrestling news from on and around October 19th, 1998 for us?
I do, and this news actually may damage both your highlight and your low light a little bit, Bartlett.
Oh.
So the first piece of news here is that Dave Meltzer is noting that this hostage angle was maybe a bit influenced by something. He's claiming that it was lifted from an unknown movie called Swimming with Sharks, which I have never seen. I looked it up. It's a Kevin Spacey movie from 1994.
Wow.
The movie that this angle was based on was about a man fired from his job in an ad agency who takes his boss hostage in his boss's home. So it sounds like they maybe lifted some of this from that movie. I've never seen it, so I cannot comment on that.
It's a trope, though, because the same thing happens in National Lampoon's Christmas Vacation.
Yes, yeah.
So, and I'm sure it happens in tons of other things, too. So I don't know. That's a great pull. That's some great information, but I'm skeptical.
I would have to see the movie to really say.
See if there was some other likenesses.
Yes, yeah. Now, as far as your low light, I guess this maybe could apply to that, where Raw won the ratings with one of its best head-to-head numbers ever, which was a 5.01 rating. So we're getting into the fives now. So Dave Meltzer says WWF television, for the most part, is far better than WCW. And on October 19th, they did have the shock value going for them. WCW has been living off of its 96 to 97 success to stay as close as it has, because most weeks the gap in quality is far greater than the gap in ratings. More importantly, during WWF's hot period right now, they are using the period to develop new stars, while WCW largely squandered its hot period when it came to making new stars, with the exception of Goldberg, whose character is lacking in depth and is in danger of being a flash in the pan, and Dallas Page, who is 43 years old.
Ouch.
So you could blame the writers, but we're getting 5.01 ratings, and that's all that matters to the WWF.
Yeah.
So
record numbers
and the merch sales.
Yeah.
They're really on the rise. So now that we're seeing those 5 ratings, we were not seeing that before. So we are climbing that hill. Dave Meltzer is reporting that the last word that he heard was that Triple H would be returning at Survivor Series. But with the angle at Judgment Day, it almost looked as if he was going to need a second operation on his knee. And that was the cover story that, Shamrock, I think, that slammed the door on his leg. Yeah. So we'll see what happens with They've been looking, you're going to like this, they've been working on signing up real-life tough guys to face Bart Gunn in a brawl-for-all match.
Yes, their search for the humiliation of Bart Gunn.
They've talked with Butterbean, but at this point, his schedule does not allow it. Well, he's going to fit it in his schedule. They are apparently talking to some ex-UFC guys as well. We saw the debut of Debra McMichael tonight, and Dave is claiming that the long-term plan is to eventually program Debra McMichael with Sable. That should be exciting, but that's probably 3 or 4 long programs down the road. Vader, Ryan, was it 2 or 3 episodes ago that you had your Jobber of the Week for Vader?
I think it might have been 3.
Yeah, we had his final Raw match when you had his Jobber of the Week segment. Dave Meltzer's reporting that Vader's final date with the WWF will be October 25th at Madison Square Garden. He's claiming that Vader had a clause in his contract requiring him to stay below 350 pounds. Vader was at 346 at the most recent weigh-in, but Vince McMahon wanted him to get down to 320 pounds. So basically, Vince McMahon said, fuck the contract, I want you to lose more weight.
Yeah.
So yeah, Vader is done with the WWF. The Austin versus McMahon episode of MTV Celebrity Deathmatch will air on October 29th. And speaking of Steve Austin making TV appearances, he did a taping of the Ricky Lake show on October 13th,
goodness.
but no word on when that will air.
I don't remember that at all.
Yeah.
Well, you remember the Ricky Lake show, right?
Oh, yeah,
Well,
I do
certainly,
remember that.
but
I don't remember Austin.
Not his
being on it.
appearance, yeah.
Well, according to the Wrestling Observer, he did a taping, so we'll have to search for that. And that is all.
Hopefully he stunned Ricky Lake. Thank you, Joseph. Illuminating as always. Quick side question here. You had mentioned that WCW was starting to look at MMA people to hire. When did they hire Tank Abbott? Do you remember like a ballpark around when
WWF was to face Bart Gunn. They were looking
My bad. I misunderstood. Okay.
When they set up the deal with Butterbean, apparently, according to Dave Meltzer, they were also looking at some ex-UFC guys to face him
Okay.
in a brawl for all
Any
style
professional
match.
fighter that could humiliate him.
Yes,
in front of
basically, yeah.
everyone.
Yeah.
JR
Okay.
was searching the whole
Right.
country for someone that could
I'm looking for any
completely ruin
badass.
Bart Gunn's life. Yeah.
Somebody to avenge Dr. Death.
Yes.
Okay.
Who is dead?
I got my lines crossed on that one there, but thank you for clarifying. All right. Well, that's it, folks. We are done with this one. I want to thank you again for joining us. If you like what we're doing here and want to connect with us, you can email us at WRASSLINRAW. Just add at gmail.com to the end of that to submit questions or comments. Check us out on YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, and on every podcast subscription platform. While you're there, don't forget to follow and subscribe to get every episode of Wrasslin Raw coming to you every week. Give us a 5-star review and tell all of your friends to tune in to the most torturous Monday Night Raw review podcast on the airwaves. Next time on Wrasslin Raw, we're going to take a look at the Raw that aired on October 26th, 1998, with matches featuring Mark Marrow, Tiger Ali Singh, and many more. So, for Joe and Ryan, I'm Jason, and this has been Wrasslin Raw.